Much like many of you, I didn't grow up in wealth. I didn't grow up in politics. Very simple, humble beginnings in the mountains here of North Georgia. And yes, this is all true. This is all true. Single wide trailer out in the middle of nowhere, tar and gravel road. Some of you can relate to that. With parents who loved me and cared for me and inspired me and encouraged me, but couldn't give me everything they wanted to other than the love and the encouragement. I'm thankful that they're actually here today. In the very back there, my mom and dad, Elaine and John Graves, their first YLS event ever. Can you welcome them? Thank you, Mom and Dad. And I share that with you because, look, I get it. I think I know where some of y'all are. You may be in a position that's a little different than mine. Maybe it's worse than how I grew up. But today is all about encouraging you because you hear from your teachers and others in your community, maybe church and other leaders, they say, hey, you're the future leaders of our community and our state. Have you heard that before? Well, guess what? You're not the future leaders. You're today's leaders. You're today's leaders. Somebody is following you. Somebody's watching you. Maybe it's a brother or sister, sibling. Maybe it's somebody on your ball team or in your classroom. Maybe they're at church. Who knows? But you're leading today. Somebody is watching you. And so you have that opportunity now to do some awesome things, knowing that people are watching you and they will follow you where you might go. So has anybody in here ever dreamed? Not like fall asleep and dream, but like dreamed about your future. I mean, any hands out there of like, if you just really dreamt? That is awesome. That is so awesome. Because years ago, I was in a classroom when only one hand went up. And that's probably what maybe sparked a little bit of what we're doing here today. I realized that not everyone was dreaming. Why? Why is that? Maybe it's because they were self-contained in their life and their own expectations of what have been shown to them. This is all you can ever do. This is all we've ever done. And therefore, you can't do the big things that you see others doing. Whatever you see on Instagram and social media and on TV, that's for other people. No, it's for all of us. Because we live in the most amazing country on the planet that allows that to happen. Allows that to happen. But there are limitations. And the limitations are self-imposed. They always are. They're self-imposed, and the barriers or limitations are only based on what you can imagine and what you're willing to work towards to get done. And so you can do almost anything. I heard Steve Jobs mentioned earlier. I think there are probably people who criticized him when he came up with that first idea about naming a box with a digital monochrome screen and calling it an apple, and then later imagining that you could put music on a little device this big and you could put it in your pocket and you could listen to it. And then later a phone that could connect to the internet and take pictures and communicate around the world. I bet there were some naysayers that said, no, you can't do that. That's never been done. Those are the favorite statements I love. When somebody tells me, hey, Tom, nah, you can't do that. Or, that's never been done before. That is a challenge to all of us. And it's to you, because I'm sure you've heard that. So your future is limited by your dream, your expectation of what you can do. Not what anybody else says. And look, there are going to be those that are going to insist sometimes, they're going to press sometimes that because of your circumstances in life, because of where you're from, who you are, your family, your income, your lifestyle, how you look, that you can't quite do it. Prove them wrong. Prove each and every one of them wrong. And if you ever doubt if you can do that, I want you to think back to this day. Think back to this little country boy, little redneck from Bartow County. One who grew up in those simple, humble beginnings. who worked and worked and worked to get to where he is today. It wasn't easy, and there were people all along the way who said, no, you can't do that. I wasn't the best student in class. I'm sorry, teachers. I was sort of that jokester in class. In fact, I just thought I was going to grow up and be a football player. I just thought that's what happened. They kept watering you and feeding you, and I just grew up and be a football player. I never had any expectations I'd be in elected public office. But my funny stat of all of it, I don't know if you saw it on all the bios, and my wife's here too, and she said, hey, look, there's one thing don't do tomorrow. Don't tell them your SAT score. I had a perfect 990. Isn't that great? 990, isn't that awesome? I mean, almost a 1600. I share that with you because I was just an average kid. And I did okay in school. I tried. I could have done better. I know that. But it's everything after that that mattered. And that's why today is so important, because of where you are in life, the decisions you're going to make. And some of you are trying to make that decision now, and you know that they're tough. They're hard. You don't know if you can do it. You may not have the money, the resources, this or that. I worked, begged, borrowed my way through school. I went to 4 colleges before I finally graduated from the University of Georgia. There was no Hope Scholarship. The only hope I had was that there'd be a student loan or a job that would take me through. I was lucky to get out of the University of Georgia, to be honest with you. And when I say get out, I mean I was like, get out. Because it was tough. It was hard. But I worked through each and every bit of it. And then end up, the opportunity to start my own business and save up my money and do all these different things in life. And, oh, did I mess up? Gosh, yeah, I did. I made so many mistakes. I failed so many different times. But they say today that you got to fail. I don't know where they come up with this stat unless they analyze my life. You got to fail like 10 times before you succeed. I should have succeeded like 3 times by now, I feel like. But that's what's going to happen. But you got to be willing to dream big. You got to be willing to work hard. And if there's a group that can work hard, I know it's North Georgia. I know the grit that is in these communities. It is who we are. It's what we do. Don't be scared to work hard. And then lastly, achieve much. There seems to be this mentality today that, if you make too much or you do too well, then something must be wrong or that's not acceptable. No, we're Americans. We're to achieve. We're to improve. We're to invest in others, as we heard earlier. We are to do these big things. And why is that? Is it selfish purposes? Maybe in some cases, but the world depends on us to do big things. The innovation, the ideas, the charity, benevolence comes from the United States of America, and it comes from communities like ours. So you are to dream big. You are to work hard. And yes, you're to achieve much. And then you're to celebrate it together. Celebrate success each and every moment. Don't be those that celebrate the failure of others. Be that person that celebrates the success. Cheers each and every person on. Because if somebody's succeeding, you know they failed previously. And they've pressed on. So my encouragement for you today is this. Look, you have potential. You all have potential, amazing potential. Persist past that. Look beyond your potential. When I asked about dreams earlier, do any of you dream of just being average in life? Do you dream of being mediocrity in life? I've never come across a person that dreams that way. So dream big. Persist past your potential. And invest back in your community. Achieve much. And come back a year, or 2, or 3, or 4 from now and share it with the rest of this group, just as we heard earlier. God bless you. I am so proud that each and every one of you would be here, that your parents and your schools would believe in you enough. And I'm going to end on this, because it's the question you need to ask yourself: why are you in these seats today? And some of you may have already wondered that. Why are you here today? And I'm going to tell you why. There was no preset conditions. There was no GPA cutoff. There was none of this kind of stuff. other than one requirement, and that is somebody saw something in you that was different. You are here today because somebody in your school, a teacher, an administrator, saw something in you that was different, and they believe in you, and they want to see you do big, big things. So dream big, work hard, achieve much. Thank you.
All right, guys, time for questions and answers.
So do I got to do...
Remember, when you come up, please state your name and where you are from. Go ahead and get lined up so we can get through pretty quickly. We make sure we give everyone an opportunity to get their question asked and answered.
All right, before you ask your questions, remember, I'm a public school student also. I need easy questions.
Okay. I'm from Murray High, and my name is Emily. And you said that you had a dream of playing football, and you went to 4 different colleges. And today you are a representative of Georgia, and I wanted to know how you got into that, how Congress, how well you were doing.
Sort of my journey there. Yeah, that's a great question. It's, it's life. You can have a plan. You might have a plan in life, and you think this is where, and it's direction. It's good to have direction. But with that comes opportunities and doors opening and closing. It's pathways and such. And so I did graduate from the University of Georgia. I worked in a corporate environment for a couple of years, saved up some money, bought a landscape company. Our family started. We moved to Gordon County. We're going through all these transitions. And then there was this spot where I really wasn't active politically. I voted. That was my involvement, and I encourage all students to do that when you reach the age. But it was in 2002 that we just decided to get engaged in the process, and I ran for state representative the very first time, and in an area where I was not from, I didn't grow up there, and I wasn't of the party that was preferred at the time. All those kind of things were going on, but it didn't matter. It was all about having a dream, and then we worked really, really hard, communicated our message, and won that first election. And realize what a difference you can make. Public service is an incredible opportunity. You can serve in so many different capacities. It just happened to be the one that I was involved in then. And then 7.5 years later, our current congressman at the time, Nathan Deal, ran for governor. And that created an opening to run for Congress. And I got to tell you, I was not the preferred candidate, was not supposed to win, and wasn't from the right part of the district, all those kind of things. But we just, we worked hard and we're successful. So now I guess I'm 9 years later. Here I stand before you. And that's why I want to invest back in each of you, because, look, again, if I can do it, if I can do big things, I know y'all can do bigger. And that's what excites me about each of you being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
So leadership-wise, what do you look for in Service Academy nominees?
Service Academy nominees, a great opportunity to share here. We get the opportunity to nominate students to the various service academies, military academies, and it's a very strenuous process if you've been engaged in it. Tracy Bartley, who's here somewhere in the room, and she should make herself available to any student here. It's a process where you just go through an application process, and we have a board, what's called an academy nomination board of members from our communities who have been at the military, have served in the military academies or otherwise, and they evaluate all the candidates, and then we nominate from there to the military academies, and ultimately the academies decide if they want to accept any of those nominations we make. So as you can imagine, we, and it's not a decision I make, it's the board makes it, but it's really about, a demonstration of leadership and activity and hard work and commitment, because this is one of the highest honors you can achieve, is to be nominated and accepted at one of our academies to serve our nation in that capacity. So Tracy's right behind you there. If you have a question, she can direct you. But I should say, Tracy, go to our website, and there's a lot of information on how you can get engaged in that process. But thank you.
So
Yes.
Going throughout high school, there's a lot of pressure set on, finding out what you want to do for the rest of your life very early on. So what was that spark, that moment that really defined what you wanted to do?
So I was in high school in my senior year of high school, second semester you would call it today. And I had a teacher approach me and said, hey, where do you plan on going to college? And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, where do you plan on going next? I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I just served 12 years. I'm done. I didn't know there was more, because I was the first to actually go to college in my family. And she encouraged me to fill out the application. She helped me with that. And I, ultimately I applied to, it was Reinhardt College at the time. I guess now it's university. And that's where I started and then transferred from there to get to the University of Georgia. But that's probably what sparked it, was a teacher investing in me and seeing that there was something different there, much like why y'all are here, to say, what are you going to do next? Because I didn't know. I had no expectation, because I had the limitations of what I knew in my environment. And that's really why we're excited y'all are here today, because we can expose you to opportunities outside of your known environment currently. But that was it, one teacher.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to give up personal, hobbies since becoming governor? Did it keep you busy?
It's a very busy job. I commute to Washington, D.C. almost every week, back and forth. But there are sacrifices you make. Probably the biggest sacrifice is your family. My wife, and we have 3 children, 2 at Georgia Tech, and Janie, who's here, is at Sonoraville High School. And, so my time away is probably the biggest thing to give up. But certainly hobbies you have to put to the side. I was a big, for the guys here, I was a fisherman. I went to Bassmaster University. How many have done that? Who graduated from Bassmaster University here? Yes. So I had to give up my professional bass fishing, aspirations.
Okay. Thank you.
Who was your biggest role model and why?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Who was your biggest role model in your life and why?
Biggest role model. I referenced my dad earlier. He certainly is the one who gave me a lot of direction and encouraged me in a way that is not easy at all. As a parent now, I probably wasn't the easiest teenager to have in the home. I was a pretty fun-spirited teenager. It's a polite way to put it. But he kept me moving in the right direction, and he didn't limit me, and that happens a lot, and I'm really glad that he encouraged me to think well outside of the track we were on, and wanted me to do more, for our family. Yeah, so I'd say my father. Thanks. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Megan Olfer. I'm from Georgia Cumberland Academy. And I was just wondering, throughout your life and your dreams and goals that you've had, whenever an obstacle comes, you come to an obstacle and you feel like you can't accomplish it, how did you, what helped you get through that to continue to keep going?
I think it's in the water of North Georgia. I'm stubborn. I am so stubborn and persistent, and I push and I push. Uh-huh. So I push limits and I push boundaries a lot, and that might be what sets me aside a little bit. I have a lot of scars as a result of that. It's painful. Life can be a contact sport if you haven't figured that out yet, and especially if you are pushing against the norms or the expectations that society wants to set for you. I'm one that's always searched a little bit outside of that. And so I'd say stubbornness and persistence, but it does leave a few scars here and there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Jack McBriar from Day County High School. I was curious as to how you were able to compete at the highest level politically and just overcome the odds, and how you were able to set the edge with yourself and with others.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's unique for all of us. We all have our own, personalities and our own vigilance and such, that who we are and what we believe. For example, I'm standing before you. Almost 600 individuals in this room that I never thought I would be able to do, speak in front of a group of people. I remember looking up at, let's say, a deacon at church when he would pray when I was in high school, and I'd be like, oh gosh, I could never do that, right? So I think you grow into the roles, and you have to be open to that, to being uncomfortable, And I learned that probably 15 years ago. And that was put yourself in uncomfortable positions to condition yourself for the next uncomfortable position. And so I'm more comfortable today because I've been uncomfortable in the past, but I got to tell you, I'm always nervous. I'm always anxious, and I hope that is comes out as an expression of energy and excitement, but it's always there. I'm not perfect in any way whatsoever. But one thing I've learned about the difference with me and, say, other members of Congress or whatever is that there's this terminology that you may be familiar with. There's street smart and there's book smart, right? I seem to be a little bit more street smart and less book smart, and I think that's a great attribute to have. Life experiences and toughness matters in a tough world, and it helps you get to the question we heard earlier about barriers, to push through barriers that aren't always defined in textbooks. Life experiences and being street smart and tough is a really important characteristic to have, which each of you have. I know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Elijah Lofty from North Murray High School. How did you stay focused on your dream?
How to stay focused? I'm not always focused. I have a lot of things going on all the time. I wish I was more focused, but I'm not. I like to have options. I like to be pursuing a lot of things at one time, and I think that sharpens me. It keeps me a little bit sharper. But having a main core goal and dream, in order to get to it, the pathway could be crazy. It's not always a direct path. It can be all over the place. So you may have a core idea or vision where you're heading, and you got to be willing to run a few routes to get there. And it's my football, I guess, analogy coming out. In order to score the touchdown, you got to flood the zone. You got to send a lot of receivers down the field, and you just got to decide when to throw and where to throw it to. So for me, I've not always been 100% focused singularly on one thing, other than I know the direction, and that's what I would encourage you because of this. And this is a great close here. Well, we have one more question, but I'll say this. Your dream can be big, and it can be out there. And if you stay so focused on that single path, you will get knocked off that path, and you'll feel like that dream is unattainable. So don't just pick one path. Be willing to get off that path. Be willing to get in the bushes a little bit, to go around the obstacles and the barriers, and ultimately stay true north on the dream. That's how I would encourage you on that. So last question right here.
I'm John from Unity Christian. What's your most significant achievement in Congress, in your opinion, and how did it come to be?
Surviving. That's probably one of the biggest. It's a challenging environment. I'm assuming you watch the news every now and then. It can be a challenging environment. I'd say you could say policy is singular most, or what have I done? What bill have I passed or signed on to? All that kind of stuff. That's just part of the job, right? Those are things you should do. Something like this has been probably one of my most proudest opportunities, is giving back to students. Look, none of y'all can even vote for me, right? I assume none of you, we're not even having an election this year. So this has nothing to do with elections or politics. This all has to do with how I grew up in a very simple, humble life and had no idea what the opportunities would be. And to be able to give back and encourage each of you, and if only one person in here is impacted in a positive way, if only one person leaves here seeking a dream that they didn't believe they could achieve, then this is worth every bit of energy we put into it. So let me just say, in closing, y'all being here today, one of my most proudest singular successes in the 9 years I've served in Congress. So thank you for letting me enjoy that with you this morning. God bless you.